Today's Thursday, November 19th, 2020, and today I'm thinking about a topic that I think about a lot, which is time moving more quickly, just because it's not slowing down. It's not like it's going back to normal anytime soon. And every night when the sun goes down, I'm like, wasn't I just here? Wasn't it just nighttime? And of course, now that we're heading into winter, that it's only getting less and less daytime where I live. But it just seems like the days go by so fast now, and every single day goes by so fast. It's relentless. It's not like in the past where I feel like growing up in the 90s, you would have days where you're like, whoa, that day felt like it flew by. You had days where you're like, wow, that day really dragged on. And then you had your happy medium. But it's like these days, every day flies by like a blur, and I feel like I'm stuck in Groundhog Day. And I think everybody can agree that it's like, wow, this 2020 just went by so fast. Like, what the heck? We're at the 19th of this month already. In, I think, a video I did just a few days ago, I said the complete wrong month. And it's like, who even cares at this point? Who can even tell the difference between the months at this point? And anyway, so that's what this video is talking about. I don't really get tired of talking about this because I feel like it's end times prophecy from Jesus Christ. So that's really important. And it's something that I think that anybody who can be honest with themselves can admit that time is moving more quickly. And if you remember how things used to be, you have undeniable proof that time is moving more quickly because of the whole 1/1000, one Mississippi thing. It just doesn't work anymore. And so I'm just going to talk about some things that I haven't talked about much before. Maybe I've mentioned it briefly, but the reason I have a picture of broccoli here is I have broccoli in my fridge that I think it's been in there for a few weeks now, but it looks totally fine, and I just haven't gotten around to making it. And it's one of the upsides of time moving more quickly. It seems like certain produce and meats, it's like they last a lot longer than they used to. I've told this before about how one time I was gonna cook some chicken because it was on the use by date in my fridge, and I went to use it and the chicken was still frozen. And I think it's because they're probably still using all the same dates that they had in the past. Oh, you got to use your chicken this many days after it's butchered or whatever. And now that time is moving so quickly, those dates aren't accurate anymore. I mean, sure, you should eat your food as fresh as you can, but it's just one of those things. I go to use my chicken because it's the use by date, but it's still frozen, and that just seems so odd to me. I don't think that it used to be like that. Another topic that I don't know, you guys will have to let me know. This year, I only mowed my lawn like 3 times. And it's going to be dependent on where you live, I guess. It's just where I live, there's a cold season where the grass kind of stops growing. And in the summer, my grass eventually just dies because I don't water it. But it seems like I have to mow the grass a lot less than I used to. Like there's less time for it to grow. And yeah, I think I mowed my lawn like 3 times this year. Now, this one's going to vary depending on where you're at, but I guess I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. But I guess this kind of goes into other maintenance things. It's like there's almost not enough time to do all the maintenance things that people used to do, like clean out the gutters. And I think that that's stuff that people used to do like every year. But nowadays, it's like you only have time to do that stuff every 5 years or every 10 years. And certain just household activities, mopping, people used to mop every day. That's crazy to think that people have time to mop every day. But and some people have just said that their floors just don't even get dirty in the same amount of time. Some people have told me I don't even need to mop as often as I used to because stuff just doesn't get dirty as quick. Well, I have children, so that doesn't apply to me. Stuff gets dirty really quickly, but you'll just have to let me know in the comments if there's certain activities like mowing the lawn or mopping that you feel like you just don't have to do it as often as you used to, or there's just not enough time to do it as often as you used to. I thought it was interesting when I was looking up pictures of people mowing. They almost all were strong, independent women with a Y, like this one. This is what I look like mowing the lawn. I thought it was strange that they had a child doing it. This is extremely dangerous with no shoes, and it's probably just all photoshopped or something. Maybe a photo op. But look, they put a Kabbalah bracelet on this child. Mowing without shoes on. Ridiculous. Yeah, but most people mowing the lawn, quote unquote, which just look like, I don't even know, is this person really doing it? Um, Look at the skull and bones of these people. We got the short arms, we got the long arms. Got the legs and the short arms, the no neck. We got the neck, the short legs, the long torso. How often to mow the lawn? So yeah, let me know in the comments. Have you been mowing the lawn the same amount of time? I mean, a lot of this, it's just set on schedules. Like people who have people come every week, they're just going to mow regardless of whether they need it or not. So here's just an interesting thing. I haven't actually tested this out. So this is something that I can test out. And because I remember when I was in, this was like middle school camp. We went to camp, and one of the rules was that you only got 3 minutes in the shower. And I remember when we were doing that thing, when okay, we got our 3 minutes to shower, I remember thinking, oh, this was plenty of time. I didn't even feel rushed to do a 3 minute shower back in the day. And I had, yeah, plenty of time to do everything you need to do in the shower, and it didn't feel rushed. But I think it would be like comical to try to do 3 minute showers these days. You would like hop in the shower and that would be it. So I just thought this was something to think of. 3 minute showers, it's like a benchmark for taking a quick shower. And I remember in the 90s, a 3 minute shower, it didn't feel like comically fast. Whereas I think today, a 3 minute shower, you wouldn't even have time to do it. Now, something that gets brought up every once in a while, and I haven't made a video about it, but I think it's kind of important, is it seems like on the TV, so many things these days are competitions against the clock. And I think what I think of sometimes is I'll be cooking dinner and I'll realize that I'm like rushing myself. And I think part of it is that there's so many cooking shows out there where everybody's racing against the clock, and it's actually very dangerous. They often cut themselves and burn themselves in these situations, and you can tell that post-production, you can tell that they're always trying to make it seem like the people are barely finishing on time. It's just that the TV sure has an awful lot number of shows that it's like people racing against the clock. And there's even some stuff that you could talk about that's not dealing with time, like why does everything have to be a competition? But I just think it's interesting how much stuff is timed competition and racing against the clock. It's like they want to get people used to the idea of having a race to finish everything so quickly. And it's because that's just how things are these days. Everything needs to be raced to finish because there's no time. If you just look at the various shows that are on Food Network, a crazy large percentage of them are competitions, and competitions where people are racing against the clock all the time. So that's just an interesting thought that I've had, and I think it might go into play with time moving more quickly. They want people to think or to be used to needing to quickly finish things. It's like there's not many shows out there that have a laid back and just slow approach. A lot of things are racing against the clock competitions. A scary amount of shows, like a huge number of shows these days, are timed competitions where the contestants are all scrambling to finish. And okay, this is kind of related to that, and it's, have you noticed that there's this new storytelling technique, and I hate it, and I think it's a terrible way to tell stories, but so many shows, and even I've seen like big YouTubers like Shane Dawson tries to do this with his conspiracy videos, where instead of telling one story, they tell like 5 parallel stories, but scrambled together. They'll give you a little bit of the first story, a little bit of the second story, a little bit of the third story, a little bit of the fourth story, and then they go through and show you bits and pieces. It's like, I think it's partially what they do to spread out. They only have so much footage, and they can spread it out way bigger by breaking it up into little bits and pieces like that, because every time you have a transition that's a few seconds that they get, and commercial breaks, they like to replay the same clip over and over again, and they'll be like, oh, back to these people, remember what these people are doing. So just the reason I have the Swamp People thing here is this is a pretty old show, 2010s, but it already was using that type of narrative where it's like, oh, let's go look at these people. Oh, let's go look at these people. And I think it partially has something to do with the time moving more quickly. It's, well, like I said earlier, it's a way that they can stretch a small amount of footage to a whole thing. And it's part of this ADD society that people have going on where nobody has the time to just sit down and enjoy something. It's always bouncing back and forth between 5 really quick things instead of having the ability to watch one really well thought out thing. This is just like the map. They'll be like, oh, let's go check out Troy over here. And then they tell you what's happening with Troy for like 3 minutes. And then they go, oh, let's go check out these people over here. Have you guys just seen that that's like a narrative technique that they use these days? And I hate it. It's so overdone. But I think that they might have to do it out of necessity just to stretch footage. And it's a weird to get people in this ADD mindset where everything's cheap and fast today. So here's another little topic about media stuff that I haven't brought up very much. It's like almost every dumb show out there nowadays has 8 seasons, 9 seasons. The Curse of Oak Island, Digging Deeper, some really dumb show. I guess people really like it, but it's a show where basically nothing happens for 8 seasons. How do shows like this go on for 8 seasons? So what I think is really interesting is if you go back in time, if you go back to the 1960s or before, or I'm sure it's the same thing for the 70s and the 80s, very, very popular shows only got 8 seasons. But these days, every piece of junk gets 8 seasons. All these reality shows get 8 seasons. Whereas back in the day, the biggest shows out there got 8 seasons. The Andy Griffith Show was only 8 seasons. I Dream of Jeannie was only 5 seasons. The Brady Bunch was only 5 seasons. The Real Housewives of Atlanta, 13 seasons. How? How is that possible? It's because, well, there's probably multiple factors going on, but I think a big one is that time is moving so much more quickly that they're able to get away with doing 13 seasons of junk like this because it's really only like, I don't know. I mean, this does end up probably being like 8 years of old years. So there is a thing about taste being very bad these days, and reality shows are incredibly cheap to produce, etc., etc., etc. But I do think that time comes into it. There's no way that people really could be interested in something so stupid for more than a decade. Like how could something like Real Housewives of Atlanta grip people's attention for more than a decade? Whereas in times past, things like the Brady Bunch, which feel like they almost define a generation or define at least 10 years, it's only 5 seasons, right? Kind of a strange thing. Big Bang Theory, 12 seasons of such a dumb show. And Seinfeld's feels like such an impactful show, and that was only 9 seasons. Okay, totally different topic. Why does old music, 30s and 40s, always have this typical old music sound? I think something that people don't talk about is time is moving more quickly. I think the reason that stuff sounds tinny. It sounds sped up. It sounds like chipmunky. And I think it's because time is moving more quickly. Now that I'm getting into this type of media stuff, yeah, you do have to talk about technological differences. There's more bass in today's things. You know, the sound stuff back in the day did used to be a lot more treble, not as much bass. So that is there, but I think you can tell that it's pitched up, like it's being played faster. And yeah. Why does the same music sound faster sometimes? I've actually heard this even just one example that I'll give you. I just heard the Blondie song Heart of Glass, and it just sounded weird to me, like it was sped up. And yeah, I don't know exactly how this works. I know that sometimes radio will speed something up sometimes a little bit, and if it's just a little bit, you won't notice the difference. But there becomes a point where it does. You're like, this sounds sped up. I don't think I have it here, but I read a comment once from somebody who was like, I used to be a drummer, and now my timing's off. It's like they remember the old time, and it doesn't work now. So here's an interesting clip. So this is a baseball clip. Have you ever watched old footage and it all looks sped up? Like watch the person throwing the ball in the back. It looks like it's sped up. That looks sped up. So a lot of old footage looks sped up, and they'll tell you things about, well, it used to be 18 frame rates and 18 frames per second. Now it's 24 frames per second. But a lot of stuff with media gets changed. And you know how a lot of old footage, they already time correct it for today, but it still looks sped up. Like I bet that this already was time corrected, but it still looks sped up to me. Especially the way that person throws the baseball. Baby Ruth, Babe, yeah, Babe Ruth is a woman. That's why their name is Babe, and Ruth is a girl's name. So people love to talk about overcranking, and they'll point out things like Charlie Chaplin, CC33, and they'll say, oh, it's for like comedic effect. But you can go watch really old documentaries and they look sped up, really old news footage and it looks sped up. So the whole excuse of overcranking, oh, they did it to make it comical, that doesn't make sense because all old footage looks sped up, not just stuff that's supposed to be comedy. It's just like everything that's old looks sped up. And this is a mysterious one. This is something that it would be nice if there were people out there researching this stuff and really diving into it. But something that people don't realize is that how do clocks even keep time most of the time? Because, I mean, that's something that people obviously bring up. Well, why doesn't my watch give the way wrong time? Well, what if the part of your watch that keeps time, quartz crystal, how do people know that quartz crystals have been maintaining the frequency forever? It's probably been changing along with this, the sun and the moon moving more quickly is probably changing the way that these quartz crystals oscillate, and it's been sped up. The process that the quartz crystals keep time with has been speeding up as time has been speeding up. That's my opinion on it. Again, wouldn't it be great if there were more people out there talking about this stuff? There's a few fringe videos on YouTube of people freaking out, just going, time is moving more quickly. I'm freaking out. But that's like about all I see of people talking about this subject. Kind of interesting. These tuning forks, these crystal tuning forks. Okay, maybe I'll just end on this. So this was an interesting video of a gramophone or whatever these things are called. And there was this comment, go to 75.75 speed, you won't regret it. That's cool. It's like a whole different song. Oh, and there was this was viral for a little bit, Jolene at 33 RPM. I guess I just want to point out that people mixing audio have always been changing levels and speeding things up, slowing things down a little bit. So much work goes into post-production at the studio. And there's this thing out there, Jolene at 33 RPM. I think a lot of singers, I mean, if you watch my channel, you should know that the boys are girls and the girls are boys. So a lot of female singers, they're actually men, and they pitch it up. They play it a little bit faster, and it makes them sound more feminine. I know that there's videos out there of like Britney Spears singing in her real voice, and people always say, whoa, that's deep. Whoa, Britney has a deep voice. It's like, yeah, Britney Spears, spear is referencing the phallus. And they take these people and they speed up the track to make them sound more feminine. Anyways, you can go listen to Jolene at 33 RPM, and that's probably Dolly's real voice. Because it still sounds very articulate at the lower speed. Anyways. Oh, I'm missing the video. I thought I had a video. Okay, well, I'll put that in at the end right here, and then I'll finish. Okay, so here's the video. I'll just end with this video. So what I did is, at first, this video was playing in regular time, regular speed, and then I go in and I change, like that commenter suggested, to 0.75 speed, and just listen to the music and decide for yourself what sounds more natural, what sounds like the true speed of this song. So this is a regular speed. Here I am, I'm slowing it down.
I can't believe that we've just been dreaming, but all about feeling, nothing but the dawn.
And here's normal speed. Okay, so to me, it seems pretty clear that playing it at normal speed sounds sped up, and when you slow it down to 0.75, that sounds like that's probably what the original song was supposed to sound like. So take from that what you will, and let me know in the comments, and tell people about how time's moving more quickly. It's one that it'll stop people dead in their tracks, and sometimes they'll look like they saw a ghost when you're like, no, time is moving more quickly than it used to. And again, it's prophecy from Jesus Christ. Praise God. God bless everyone.